It's amazing how many fantastic people come out of the state of Ohio when you end up with a connection with. U.S. Representative Jim Jordan is one of those we were just talking about. He used to represent Bowling Green, Lima, Findlay, I guess. Lima
just
now.
south of Bowling Green.
Appreciate
Just south. Yeah, we did. And our district now kind of goes across the middle of the state, so we're just south of where you hung out and won all those basketball games back in the day.
Yeah, we had a great time. Urban and I were neighbors. The hockey coach lived 2 doors down, so we used to say we're going to put a fence around, and you had to have a thumbprint to get in. Our kids would play. It was a great time.
Good.
Ohio in the news. Terry Francona is saying in this argument between the Guardians and the Indians that Donald Trump wants the Indians back. Terry Francona, the manager, is saying, yeah, it's basically old white people that have screwed this whole thing up. I don't know about that, Jim. What's your thoughts on this whole deal?
I think it's the fans who just want the team named what it's always been, which is the Cleveland Indians. I mean, come on. I mean, whether it's the Indians or Redskins, I just don't get all this wokeness and the changes that were made a few years ago. So let's go back to the name. We do this at the start of every baseball season. We always say, good luck to the Cleveland Indians. We just stick with the name. And I think lots of folks in Ohio and frankly, lots of folks here in the D.C. area do the same with the Commanders, what we would refer to as the Redskins. Why can't we just? When I was a kid, you remember this too. When I was a kid, I still remember George Allen, Tom Landry, that rivalry between the Cowboys and the Redskins and the NFL, and that was it's like, why do we have to go to the Washington Commanders? I just don't get it.
I grew up in Gary, Indiana. Next to us is Valparaiso. Valparaiso was the Crusaders, and now it's the Beacons. But he said, if you're white, you're probably just fine. That's not how it's supposed to work. I don't believe this is a white-black issue, the Cleveland Indian. I don't believe that. I don't believe this is a racial issue. I think it's more of a fan issue in Cleveland and over in D.C. Do you? What?
No, I totally agree. And frankly, they're Native Americans. They're tribes and around the country who are fine with it. I mean, so I don't get when they try to make it something that it's not. It's just like that was the name of the team. Why not keep that? Other places, you think of the Chiefs in NFL. You think of other teams like that. So again, I just think it's something that the fans. They like the name, and frankly, when they went with the Guardians, it was like you had to get an explanation of what does that even mean and what's the reference to, and so yeah, let's just everyone relax and let's play baseball or let's play football or whatever, not get tied up with these politically correct things that you think you have to do.
How difficult is it to wade through all of that? Given the fact that you're a sports guy, sports is very black and white. You coach, you win, you lose. That's it, and it's there. But Congress doesn't seem to operate that way. How difficult is it for you to wade through all the bullshit, excuse my language?
Well, it's just part of the deal, but you're right, and particularly the sport I was in is as basic as it gets. You step on the mat, if you can pick the guy up and throw him down more than he can do it to you, you win. It's as basic as it gets. So, and sports is just like that. You play to win. Where in Congress it's all this, and there's a compromise, and we got to change this language on this particular piece of legislation. The part I like best about Congress is when it's most like wrestling. It's when I'm in a hearing and there's someone on the witness stand, I get a chance to cross-examine them, and I think that witness has probably not been square with the people I get the privilege of representing in the 4th District of Ohio, and my job is to point that out. And whether it's someone in the administration or whether it's Dr. Fauci who drove me nuts or whoever, that's the part I like, because that's, for an old guy, that's as close to a wrestling match as you can get. So I appreciate that. But yeah, it's some give and take, and that's the legislative process, and you work through it. But there's something about sports that you just step on the mat or you step on the court, you step on the field, and you're playing to win. That is kind of so American. It's one of the things I say, Dan, about the president. Here's what I love most about President Trump. He thinks like an athlete. I've gotten to know this guy over the last 10 years. He totally thinks like an athlete. He hates to lose. And I argue that's a great quality. You want that in your commander-in-chief. You want that in your president. You want a guy who plays to win. And I would argue in many ways that's just an American quality. Americans aren't wimpy, sissy losers. Americans are set the goal, work hard, make things happen. That's why we came here. That's why we left. Our ancestors left Europe to come here and set goals, work hard, practice our faith the way we think the good Lord wants us to. That's America. And President Trump has that. And I think it's a good quality. It's an athlete's mindset. And I think that's good for our culture, good for our country.
You know, you mentioned Fauci. Do you ever sit there in a hearing and just know somebody's lying to you? Like, look at them and go, you're just straight lying. And let's take Fauci, for example. Will his lies, will any of these people ever see prosecution?
Well, we're looking at something now where I think there's a real chance, like Brennan and Clapper and these guys, what they did when they manufactured and changed the intelligence community assessment with the whole. This is where it all started back in 16 and 17 with President Trump and this whole Russia hoax stuff. So hopefully they will. Attorney General Bondi's put together what's called a strike force where they're going to dig into this. There's been the referral from Tulsi Gabbard, which I think is totally appropriate. So let's hope so here that someone actually gets held accountable. But many times all we can do in the legislative branch is we can't indict, we can't prosecute anyone. Only the executive branch can, the Justice Department can. But in the legislative branch, our job is to do oversight, to get the facts out there and make sure the country understands what may or may not have happened. And so we do that. But you were right with Fauci. I mean, think about this. Everything that guy told us turned out to be false. Every single thing. They said that it wasn't gain of function done at the lab in China. It sure was. He said it wasn't our tax money used in the lab in China. Yes, it was. He said it didn't come from the lab. Yes, it did. He said the vaccinated couldn't get it. He said the vaccinated couldn't transmit it. He said masks work. He said 6 feet social distancing was based on science. And then he told us this was the first virus in American history where there's no such thing as natural immunity. Like, you were 0 for 8, dude, and you're supposed to be the smartest man on the planet. You at least acted like it. So they were wrong, and yet the government was still trying to say, oh, we want to stop misinformation. What? The government's the biggest purveyor of misinformation, particularly Fauci. So, he particularly ticked me off as he did a lot of Americans.
I could tell in your eyes. There's a little bit extra having to listen to all that bullshit and how it affected Americans. That it should piss you off.
Yeah. Well, think about what he did to your liberties, to all your listeners and all Americans across. Like, they literally, the Biden administration told us you can't go to church, you can't go to work, you can't go to school. And then they tried to censor you if you spoke out against it. Like, that is a direct attack on our fundamental liberties, our First Amendment rights. I mean, that is how bad it was. And so, I have no love lost for Dr. Fauci.
I want to go into something you just said. You talked about Tulsi Gabbard yesterday and her bombshell. It's a complete bombshell. But, I mean, it's treasonous. It's all anything you want. But CNN cut away, and then CNN did their normal nonsense. When did we get to the point where these networks are no longer even expected to tell you what's real? I think the expectation is, well, you're going to tell us what's real from a Democratic side. When did we get to this point, and how can we stop it? Yeah,
I think the way it stopped is on Election Day, and we saw that on November 5th because I think the American people said, we're tired of the BS. One of the lines President Trump uses all along, or so often, I should say, is that our party, the party I belong to, the Republican Party, is now the party of common sense. And so I think Americans can see through it. But yeah, these networks, the legacy media, the mainstream, whatever you want to call them, they've always been left-leaning. And so they're just doing what they normally do. I always say this, though, about the left. I said, not all Democrats are crazy, but the left that controls the Democrat Party is. And you can go issue by issue, and they are completely. It's crazy to defund the police. It's crazy not to have a border. It's crazy to say men should compete against women in sports. It is crazy to blame the National Guard who goes to L.A. for causing the riots that the National Guard was sent in by President Trump to stop it. But that's the left's position. It is crazy to embrace all the crazy anti-Semitic behavior that you see on campuses, and the left defends that garbage. It's like, here's one. It's crazy to let a Chinese spy balloon fly clear across the country and then shoot it down. You just shot it down before it went across. I know Trump would have definitely shot it down, but like that's the left's position. That's the Biden. So I think you just point that out, and people see through CNN and MSNBC and what they do. And Americans, good people, have common sense. They can figure out the truth. But the left is going to be the left, and left-wing media is going to be left-wing media. but people are way past that.
But it hasn't always been that crazy.
Right.
It hasn't. What changed in your mind? You're there, you see it, you know the knuckleheads involved. What changed?
I think so many of our institutions just got taken over by the left. I mean, the left controls big academia, the left controls big media, the left control, and maybe the controlling of the higher education has fed in and fostered that movement in media towards the left that we've seen over the last 30, 40 years. But the left controls so many institutions. But I always point out the left doesn't control we the people, and we the people get to ultimately decide on election day. And we saw that again, as I said, on November 5th. But they do control the big institutions, and we've had to push back on those. The left controls big corporations, big tech, big media, big academia. In some cases, you would argue the left controlled big sports. I mean, it was just a few years ago when Major League Baseball said, oh, we can't have the All-Star game in Atlanta because, the Georgia legislature and the governor signed legislation to fix voting, and it's going to disenfranchise vote, when in fact they had a higher turnout the very next election than they had the one before. So, all based on false things, but the left has a hold of these things, and you're starting to see under Trump's leadership and the courage he has you're coming back to normal and common sense. I guess maybe we've kind of come full circle. Normal and common sense is the Cleveland Indians should be able to be the Cleveland Indians. They shouldn't be pressured to change their name. So I think that's the positive sign that I see.
NIL is a big deal. We mentioned sports earlier. You obviously involved in sports, Ohio State and other places. The SCORE Act is now a big deal.
Yeah.
The Attorney General in Ohio said, don't do it. He said he was part of a group urging Congress not to pass the SCORE Act because it gives, I guess, too much power in the hands of the NCAA. Where are you at on NIL in general and how to fix it, how to correct it, how to regulate it?
We think this bill's a good bill, a good start, and you need to give some structure. So our committee, the Judiciary Committee, has to give some antitrust exemption power to the entity that governs college sports. Because if you don't, you can't really have rules. I mean, think about the situation now. When you played college sports, you played at a high level. You know that you can't have the situation today where you got athletes playing 6 years, transferring 5 times, and not getting a degree. So when we helped put this legislation together with our committee and 2 other committees, we started, in my mind, with 3 sort of, fundamental objectives. One, we want competition. We want competitiveness. You don't just want a few teams in the various sports winning all the time. So you want to keep competitiveness. Right now with these collectives and all the money that's getting paid, Texas, Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, there's a handful of schools at the top who have so much more money that they're raising from their boosters and alumni I think it's going to be tough for it to be competitive. So we wanted to focus on competitiveness. We wanted to make sure that you didn't diminish opportunity for student athletes. So you want to try to stop schools dropping sports and just every focus is on football and basketball. We want football and basketball. We know that pays the deal for the athletic departments. But you want to provide opportunity, and you want to make sure our USOC, our Olympic Committee, and the Olympic movement is strong in the Olympic sport. So competitiveness, not diminishing opportunities for student athletes, and frankly, remembering that it's supposed to be about getting an education. Again, if you got someone transferring 5 times in a 6-year time period, playing for all these different schools and not getting a degree, that's not really what it's supposed to be about. So we understand that the courts have made their decision and athletes are getting paid now. We get that. We believe that athletes who, like Caitlin Clark, God bless her, she deserved all the money she got with the deal she got using her name, her image, her likeness, everything else. We're all for that. But we want to make sure that you keep competitiveness, you don't diminish opportunities in track and volleyball and wrestling and other sports, and that you remember it's about education. We think this bill does it. Now, some AGs think that, we're giving some power back to the NCAA, but you got to have somebody manage and have the rules.
Right.
So you just got to do that. So whatever that entity is, it just happens to be the NCAA in college sports. But, Major League Baseball, they got certain rules that everyone has to follow. Same with the NFL, same with hockey, you name it. So we think this bill makes sense, and we're hoping to get it across the finish line when we come back in September.
I'm all for if somebody wants to come up with some organization or some operation that controls college sports fairly that isn't the NCAA. I mean, that's fine, but you got to have somebody somewhere somehow regulate And you got to have some order, and order starts with some leadership, does it not? It's fascinating that people are so against. Jim, I think it's very easy, and tell me if you agree with it. I think it's very easy for everybody to just say the NCAA is the problem. You know,
right.
The NCAA, well, what does that mean? I think it's very easy and lazy to do that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. These 5 AGs who signed, one of the AGs who signed it was Letitia James. I don't know, if she's seen as the intellectual insight and everything on college sports, for goodness sake. This is a lady who went after President Trump, so she's one of the 5 attorney generals who sent that letter to us. So, yeah, it's always easy to blame the NCAA, but I tell you what, I go to the NCAA wrestling tournament. It is the best run tournament in the world. It's the biggest tournament in the world. 20,000 crazy wrestling fans, 6 rounds over 3 days. It is awesome. You follow the NCAA basketball tournament. What a tournament. Everyone loves that. We all love watching that in March. I always know the first weekend of the NCAA basketball tournament is the weekend of college wrestling. And between rounds, you're back at the hotel with your buddies, with my boys. We're watching basketball between rounds of watching wrestling. It's like we love college sports. So it's like, were there problems at the NCAA? Sure were. But you got to love the tournaments they run. We just had the College World Series. People love watching that. Packed stadium out there in Omaha. So all that's good. Let's not lose that and have all those sports be dropped because there's such a focus on we got to pay the athletes to come play football. I get that. I'm all for it. But let's make sure we keep. The USOC was one of the people who came in to see us. One of the things we have in this bill, Dan, is we say you can't go below 16. 16 sports is what you need to be Division I. And we're saying you can't drop below that. So we're actually, that's in the legislation as a way to help our Olympic movement. President Trump's got the Olympics coming here in a few years. That's going to be huge for our country. So we're trying to make sure this bill does the right things, protects athletes. They're not employees. There's not a union. All the things we need to do, we think are in this legislation.
Yeah, on the field, Ohio State, Texas, week 1, man. That's pretty good. Arch Manning that's going to be pretty good. What are you
There
seeing?
is. Yeah, no, that's going to be a great kickoff. It's funny. I spoke with the Big Ten commissioner a couple days ago, and we were talking about the bill. And he just happened to be at I think it was media days for the football coaches. So that's going to be huge. That's going to be a huge game and a great kickoff to the college football season, which, again, we all love college football. We all love college. Just like I love college sports because I had a great experience. I know you did as well. The things it teaches you. And it's funny because I look at today, but both our boys wrestled I wrestled for the Badgers, and both our boys wrestled for Wisconsin as well. And the change from way back when I wrestled, when I went to college, I didn't even know that they washed your gear for you and you got gear. That's how I just a country boy going off to wrestle. I had no idea. And then by the time my boys get to wrestle for the Badgers, they're giving them golf shirts and golf pants and sweats and several sets of running shoes and wrestling shoes and their travel. It was like training table. I'm like, holy cow, this is so different than way back when I did it. So, but it's an amazing experience, and what athletics teaches young people about, discipline and work ethic and teammates and teamwork and all. It's I think it's special, and there's a reason we have sports as part of the educational experience. We believe they help educate people and give them qualities that are important. So I just want to keep as much of that as we can at the college level.
You and I were in college the same time. You were wrestling in Wisconsin. I was playing basketball at Indiana. I graduated 85. I think you graduated 86. Yep. I had to pay Coach Knight back. $1,500 because I wasn't going to class for summer school. So he's like, hey, you either have $1,500 that we paid you to go to summer school on my desk, or I got a job for you. Which one? I'm like, oh, crap. Yeah. I don't think it was a little different time back then, Jim.
Totally.
A little different time.
It sure was. But you probably think the world of Coach Knight, just like I did my college coach. And Polly and I got married in college between our junior and senior year. And the things my coach did for us, I will never forget. He helped us out because we were, poor newlyweds and so yeah, you appreciate your coach. But that's funny. You would not see that today. You would not see that today.
No, but I do remember about wrestlers at Indiana as we used to watch them carrying each other up the stairs at Assembly Hall, and Coach Knight would go, "Let me tell you, guy, you turn the ball over one more time. That's what you're going to be doing." You know, like we're like, no. Those guys are too tough.
Our youngest, Isaac. He after he graduated from Wisconsin, he coached a couple years. He was assistant coach at Indiana. Now he's a lawyer in Indianapolis, but he coached in Indiana for a couple years. He loved it down there. Beautiful campus, beautiful place. He was there for 2 seasons. Had a great time.
Last thing. Why can't this happen? Why can't Democrats just find a likable person that puts out policies that have common sense, not crazy people that have to insult, whether it's you're a fascist,
Yeah.
well, wait a second, no, you're a Nazi, tax the rich, all the same nonsense. Why can't they just put out a guy like you, like just a normal, good person, and get decent policies that people understand? Why is that so hard for Democrats?
I think a lot of it is, I said this earlier, again, not all Democrats are crazy, but the left, the hard left, that just everything against Trump left, that's the element that controls, that's who controls their party. And I don't know that they're necessarily a majority of the Democrat Party, but they have the influence and the energy is all on the hard left. And they have a template. The hard left, I always say that the left has a template. The left will tell a lie. Big media, left-wing media, big media will report the lie. Big tech will amplify the lie. And then when you tell the truth, they call you racist. Or they'll call you something else. And pretty soon, you'll be proven accurate, but then they're on to the next lie. And it's just this process they follow. Now, there are good Democrats. I talk with all the Democrats, even ones who yelled at and swore at me and everything else. But the left has the energy, and that's what drives it. And then you add to it this Trump, what's been called Trump derangement syndrome, which I do believe some people have. I think it's real, and they're just out to get Trump all the time. You put those two elements together, and you get the craziness. So I wish it weren't the case. I think they may get smart, and they may pick a candidate in 28 who is more like what you just described, and not some of the folks we've seen of late.
I watched this crazy Crockett, AOC. Pete Buttigieg is trying to grow a beard, swear on Twitter, trying to become a real guy. I'm like, wait a second, I don't know. Just put somebody out there that is relatable. That's not, come on.
Yeah. It's so funny because Trump, the billionaire from Manhattan, is a man of the people. I love it. And when you've spent time around him, I feel fortunate. I've got to spend a lot of time around him. I so appreciate him. But and it's made our party, the Republican Party, as someone has said, and you see this mostly in Ohio. We used to be the swing state, the bellwether state, 50-50. We're now President Trump won by like 12 points in the last election in Ohio. And it's because he can relate to normal working class people. Regular folks. My dad was a union worker for General Motors and is the most pro-Trump guy on the planet. He loves the president. And it's just like, that's what President Trump has done. And someone has said the Republican Party is no longer the wine and cheese party. We're the beer and blue jeans party. And there is so much truth to that. It's just like regular people like common sense, and President Trump is bringing that. And maybe the Democrats will figure it out. Frankly, from a political standpoint, if they don't, that's good for our party and I think good for the country. But hopefully they figure it out for their sake.
Man, oh man, I appreciate your time. It's been really fun. I hope you'll come back, Jim. Thank you so much, Congressman.
Thanks for what you do.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah.